A couple of former number one picks showed up and showed out for the Jacksonville Jaguars and got them a win. Is that enough to propel this team the rest of the season? We'll answer that question today on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. A quick reminder to slide over to the YouTube page that is Locked On Jaguars and tap in every single day to watch the podcast. And if you're not watching the podcast, wherever you listen to the podcast, make sure you tap in to that location each and every day so you do not miss an episode. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. That's right, man. It helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. We shout out to our everydayers for joining us every single day here on Locked On Jaguars. What we're going to talk about is in segment 3, as we start to land this plane, we'll tell you whether or not this is the jump start the Jaguars needed, and can we realistically expect the team to now build on the win yesterday against the Colts and keep on moving. In the middle of the show, Trayvon Walker shines. He is part of the duo that we're talking about today, a former number one picks. And we're going to start talking about the overall number one pick the year before Trayvon got here, and that is Trevor Lawrence, and why these two guys played what I believe is the best game of their career and the impact that it has on the team. So let's park it right there and not bury the lead. 37-34, a roller coaster of a game and a bit of a wild fourth quarter. It was marvelously entertaining. Super entertaining game for a lot of reasons. Uniforms, Tom Coughlin being honored, first home game in a couple of weeks or something like that. And the Jaguars, not really a couple of weeks, the first home game where people were enthusiastic about what was going to be occurring on the field. Got off to an 0-4 start, and we all know that. But they needed a win yesterday, and they got it. They got it from I had said a podcast maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. They need to just shrink this thing down to the point where they depend on their best players. And not saying that they listened to me, but you guys watched the game. It felt like they were intent on going, you know what? That's exactly what we were going to do. And like I said, it wasn't on me. But, in these situations, what happens is teams realize, all right, we need to get out of this. And the only people that need to touch the ball until we can get out of this are our best players. Those best players are, of course, Trevor Lawrence, who we're going to talk about. Trayvon Walker, he doesn't touch the ball, but he impacted the game. Josh Allen also had an impact on the game and played just coming off a concussion protocol. Travis Etienne early with catching the ball and getting the Jaguars jump started. And then it just wasn't, the rest of the day just wasn't his. It kind of belonged to Tank Bigsby. That's kind of the way that they went. I'll address something that Doug Peterson said about that later on. But Tank Bigsby had a huge game, and Brian Thomas Jr. I can't say enough about Brian Thomas Jr. And then later on, even Christian Kirk. So there was a theme here. And the theme was that if y'all going to come out of this, those 5 or 6 best players you have on this team are going to be the ones that are going to lead the team. And that's exactly what they did. Now, I said I wasn't going to discuss any possible negative things, and we're not going to do that just for the sake of doing it. But what I will do is we're going to point some things out that need to be pointed out, because yesterday I said I'm going to give you until tomorrow before we start analyzing stuff. But yesterday I wanted the fans to really, really enjoy it, as I said on the postcast. And now we have to really start taking a look at what it is and what it truly could be, and the reality that, it might not be the swell of change that everyone thinks or anticipates that it might be. But the first couple of segments, we're going to talk about the superlatives, and that's the way everyone played. Trevor Lawrence was brilliant yesterday. I'd take that one throw, if the one he made when he got picked by Cross, when they bracketed Brian Thomas Jr. That I think that comes into territory when you're trying to be deliberate about giving people a chance. It wasn't a great throw. He shouldn't have even done it. First of all, the team was moving. We're in full control. That's when you have to learn how to step on people's neck and continue to be patient. Trevor got a little bit happy with the success they were having and decided to go ahead and take a shot. You don't have to do that. He actually sounded like people sound on social media, or sometimes when media members ask coaches, don't you think you just need to maybe just take a shot and see what happens? And then coaches go, I've never in my life called a play just to see what happens. Everything I do, everything coaches do, and they're very intentional about what they expect the outcome to be. They don't just do that. That sounds like people that have never understood the game enough to say, well, just take a shot there. Take a shot for what? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. They didn't like it. It didn't cost them in the end of the game. But I think what happened and what I saw with Trevor that I liked is he had a very, very short memory. And in the past, it seems like, how many times have y'all heard me say this on a podcast, especially here? When the things start going wrong for the Jaguars, they continue to go wrong on both sides of the ball. So yesterday, the defense got into a situation where it looked like they couldn't stop anybody. Right there in the third and fourth quarter, it's like, okay, whoever gets the ball last is going to win. There were two things that happened. One, the offense kept going. The offense didn't allow fear to creep in. They didn't just start running the ball. They stayed and remained aggressive. And then they end up getting more points themselves. It's like, okay, you want to tie the game up? All right, we'll score again. Now score again. And the coach would. And then they said, all right, you did that. We'll score again. And so they kept going and they kept matching the intensity and they kept matching the explosiveness of the coach because Trevor Lawrence was hot. And then he had gotten beyond and gotten past that bad throw. All right. And then Tank Bigsby made big plays on offense. And see, those lanes, those running lanes are partly created because the quarterback is shredding this team. And those linebackers and safeties have to keep their nose out of people's business. And what happened is now the run game comes in. And Tank gets to that second level because he breaks tackles, and he was very, very hard. Shout out to Ezra Cleveland. I've been on this offensive line so bad. Ezra Cleveland has a play that's all over social media where he clearly comes in, clear on Tank's first touchdown run, clears the linebacker on the second level. And once he cleared the linebacker, when I say cleared, okay? Ezra didn't lose his feet, and the linebacker got knocked way off his. And then Ezra kept running and ended up catching up to Tank Bigsby and actually propelled him in the end zone when Tank was trying to get away from a defender. So that is the effort that it's going to take. And I wanted to make sure that since I've criticized the offensive line so much that I shouted them out on that. They did a real good job. This is the second consecutive week. And Doug Peterson also mentioned that. Hey, they're healthy, they're playing together, and they're getting used to playing together. What Doug said, I said I was going to get back to this. What Doug said about the running back situation was, and there have been a lot of speculation about this, whether it's been in the media, even on a podcast, my other podcast that I do, Locked On NFL, my partner, Matt Williamson, who's on Fridays, who's a former NFL scout, said Tank needs to be running back one because he's more physical. Well, Doug Peterson put that to bed yesterday. He said Travis is their guy. Travis Etienne is their guy. Now, you can take that with a grain of salt. You can wonder if they're trying to keep him engaged. You can wonder if they are trying to make sure any trade value that he has is maintained before the trade deadline. Or you can take them at their word. And that's what I'd rather do until we see something different. I'll take them at their word. Notice nobody complained about the play calling yesterday because guys executed. So those plays look very, very good yesterday when people execute, and I think that's something that needs to be noted as well. So Trevor Lawrence, great game. I'm not going to run his stats down to you. We did that yesterday. 371 yards, 2 touchdowns. Everybody played great. Gabe Davis didn't play that great. Other than him, everybody chipped in. There's some things going on in the running game, some things definitely going on in the coverages that have to be cleaned up. But Trevor Lawrence did his part yesterday, and you have to give him credit for that. It's a good birthday weekend for Trevor Lawrence. All right, we'll discuss the defense and another first-round pick who made a significant contribution. That is Trayvon Walker. We'll do all of that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by LinkedIn. That's right, LinkedIn Talent Solutions. When you're hiring for a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals. And I know when you're building a business, because I've done it, you're dealing with contractors, you're trying to get everything right, you're dealing with regulations, and you forget that you actually have to hire people. Well, LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. Here's what you need to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's show is also sponsored and brought to you by BetterHelp. If you have ever been in a situation where you even considered therapy, well, I think BetterHelp can help you, because I have had therapy on multiple occasions, and each time it has helped me get through. And now I do it on a continuous basis because, well, I don't have to fall off to get back on and wait to do therapy until it's time to get up. I can keep myself balanced and square every single day, constantly dealing with death and loss of friends and family, body aches, and trying to make sure that I can spend time with my grandchildren. Sometimes what happens is you stress yourself out. Well, guess what? BetterHelp can be there for you. If you're considering therapy or thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com /lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com /lockedon. All right, segment number 2 here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. How does it feel to have a victory Monday? 37-34 victory over the Indianapolis Colts, who were without some key starters, including possibly their best player in Jonathan Taylor, the running back. No excuses. The Jaguars are also without their best defensive back in Tyson Campbell. So we don't make excuses. We don't give anybody any excuses, because if we had injured players and we were playing and we had lost, I say we, I mean the Jaguars, nobody would care, right? So we don't care either. The Colts just keep losing games here in Jacksonville. I don't care who they have over there. You can put Burt Jones and Johnny Unitas over there, and it feels like every time they come here, they get beat. And that's what happened yesterday. They lost. So the Jags get off of the cellar of the AFC South and are now 1-4 with consecutive games in London that are very winnable against the upstart Chicago Bears. That presents some interesting problems, but at least they're going against a rookie quarterback, right? Even though he's very, very talented in Caleb Williams. In the following week, they play against the Patriots, and now it turns out that Drake May is going to get a start for New England. That's 2 consecutive rookie quarterbacks overseas in London for 2 straight weeks. I think the Jags have a good chance of winning three in a row. And I know I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I really do. They can affect those rookie quarterbacks because their pass rush appears to have woken up. And what I mean by that is Trayvon Walker, the third-year player out of University of Georgia, had the game of his life. I'm not saying he won't do it again, but the game he had yesterday, there are a lot of dudes, man, that have made a lot of money. Some of them wearing a yellow jacket that did not play that well yesterday. That young man got after it, was motivated. I saw him on a clip after the game where he was saying, "Don't count us out. Don't count us out." But always very, very measured. If you didn't have a chance to see his post-game interview, check that out, because it's all over social media, his media availability. And he's always going to be measured. He told us he never breaks scheme. He always does everything that he's supposed to do for this system. He admitted yesterday, he said, "I'm a power pass rusher. That's who I am." And I think that's something that people need to get used to. The difference between him and a lot of other guys is he does play with a lot of that power, and you don't turn it on and turn it off from passing to rundowns. He is always about setting the edge. He is always about bringing that physicality. And I bet you if you ask players and not TV people or pundits or even people like me, I've heard other coaches talk about his impact on against their team. That physicality is like those little body shots, man, in boxing. You know, everybody loves the headshots, but those body shots accumulate over a long period of time. And I know we love sacks and we love pressures, all right? We love hurries and all of that stuff. And you got all of that yesterday, but you didn't get it at the sacrifice of him worrying about quarterback scrambling. You didn't get at the sacrifice of not having the edge set. There were a couple of times when he wasn't in the game, and exactly what I'm talking about on stuff like end arounds and little quick passes where the edge wasn't set. And you saw a tremendous difference between him being in the game and him not being in the game. So I think, as opposed to, they say comparison is what does it say? Comparison is something. I can't think of the name of it, or how to say it. But it'll cause you to not appreciate a player for who he is. And whether you think Trent Baalke made the right or wrong decision in taking him over Aiden Hutchinson, Trent got exactly what he was looking for. Trayvon Walker has 10 sacks in his last 9 games, and he provides a physicality on his defense that if he wasn't here, it would be missing. And I don't care who you put in there. Maybe Jarrett versus the type of player, an older player, Cameron Jordan, who I often compare Trayvon to. There are certain guys that play a certain way, and Trayvon plays exactly the way that they thought he was going to play when they picked him. So they got what they wanted. And that's the thing is, whether or not, I'm not going to argue with anybody that says it was the wrong decision. They got what they want. It's like if you go into a grocery store looking for watermelon, and then everybody's bragging about these cantaloupes. I don't know why anybody would do that, by the way, about how good these cantaloupes are, right? And then they come to the neighborhood and everybody loves how good these cantaloupes are. Cantaloupe, that's what they want at the time, which I'll say it again. I don't know why anybody would pick cantaloupe or watermelon, right? But if you got what you wanted, you can't worry about what other people are talking about. And I think that's where I'm at, and a lot of people are at with Trayvon Walker. The physicality it's not necessarily about, okay, which was the best thing to go for. Complete pass rusher or a guy that brings all of this stuff. That's a different argument than saying you didn't get exactly what you thought you were getting, because the Jaguars appear to be getting exactly what they thought they were getting. Last year, Trayvon had 10 sacks. He now has 5. That is 15 sacks in 22 games. It's pretty dang on good, man. And he's starting to really, really, really learn how to finish. In fact, he'd probably tell you if he finished a little bit better yesterday that he would have had 5 sacks, maybe even 6. He definitely caused another sack when he caused Joe Flacco to run into Josh Allen. So there were some people that said, okay, is this because Joe Flacco is a statue? That has something to do with it, just like the fact that he wasn't getting sacks in a couple of those games. So he got sacks against Flacco and he got sacks against Tua Tagovailoa, who ain't trying to run, okay? Other people from around the league play quarterbacks that don't run too, and they get sacks. When he doesn't get sacks against, say, Deshaun Watson, or whether it's Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, or whoever they played Cleveland. He almost got to Stroud a couple of times, and he affected him a lot, and also drew a whole bunch of holding penalties, right? And then Josh Allen, where they were throwing the ball real quick, and you have to rush him different because if you give him a lane, he'll run. The timing of those games combined with the timing of the production of somebody else, I can get why people can get confused about whether or not he's good. But he was at his absolute best yesterday, and I think the Jaguar Nation and Jaguar fans should be extremely happy about that. And looking forward, I think it's going to really, really help the Jaguars, especially in these next 2 games. Could this stretch be the jumpstart the Jags need in order to finish this season really, really strong? I'll tell you why I think it possibly could be in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. First, I got to let you know about FanDuel, man. FanDuel is the absolute best because they're America's #1 sports book, and maybe they're America's #1 sports book because they are the best, right? You need to jump on it by starting the season with a big return on FanDuel. What you're going to get is $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you placed your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose, when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel. Also, once you place your bets and you're sitting there on that page where you're checking your bets, you don't have to go to another page to check out the game stats and find out play-by-play what is going on that could affect whether or not you take home some Skrilla. It's all right there on the same page at FanDuel. So make sure you go to FanDuel and get that bonus, $200, when you place your first $5 bet. It is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, third and final segment here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. Make sure you check out Locked On NFL. Make it your second listen. And you can do that twice a day. One time with the madman Tyler rolling early in the morning, and then come by the barbershop with me, Tony Wiggins, and we hang out and just talk about football with both of us with the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On NFL guests who happen to be experts on all of your local favorite teams. So make sure you check that out each and every day on Locked On NFL, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm not going to go too fast because the Colts were a little bit banged up, and the reality is they still fought valiantly, and the Jaguars had some breakdowns on defense. All right. I do, however, believe that facing two rookie quarterbacks in the next 2 weeks in territory where those rookies are unfamiliar, and the Jaguars are very familiar with the travel and being overseas, and the Jaguars have an experienced bunch, and they've really had a pretty decent record going over to London. So, I would anticipate the Jags will go at least on a 3-game winning streak here before they come back home. And I think then they will start to have that natural momentum that comes along with winning games, right? Outside of the Buffalo game, the Jaguars had played really, really poorly at some points, but they were in these nip and tuck games. These games were really, really close, right? They could have gone either way. So some of these games were really, really close. They could have beat Houston. They had the lead with a little bit more than a minute to play. They should have beat Cleveland. They played around and came out flat for some reason, and I can't understand that because they weren't flat yesterday. And then they should have beat Miami. They should have gone up 24-7 at the end of the third quarter in that game. The Jaguars are very, very close to being, instead of 1-4, being 4-1. They really, really are. But close doesn't count. So they're 1-4, and this is where they are. But they can turn that around with a couple of games overseas. They say they're going to take it one game at a time, one play at a time, one possession at a time, and I would agree with them. And we're going to be watching and hoping that they do exactly that and are able to continue to win games. I don't care how close the games are when they win. I don't care how close they are when they lose. It's either a win or a loss. But one thing that I do know is they're going to get Tayshaun Gibson after week 6, I believe. I think week 7 when he comes back. In fact, I'm interested to see if he's going to travel with the team because his window, he had a 6-game suspension. So they'll have these next 2 games over there. But normally when a guy's suspended like that, they allow him to be around the team and practice with the team. The window for him to come back usually opens up. So I'm interested to hear whether or not he'd be available to travel with the team, ingratiate himself with the team and practice. And we know he was there at training camp. His presence will definitely help them down the stretch because they are hurting in that department and need some more veteran leadership in the middle of that field to prevent some of these big plays. They're also going to get Tyson Campbell back. And that's going to help the part of the team that everyone saw struggle so much yesterday with the secondary. All right. You add that to a pass rush that is now starting to get, they're starting to get wet. They're starting to understand and starting to get greased up and get loose. I think Ryan Nielsen will then I think he's going to continue the platoon system a little bit, but I think he'll be judicious in how he does that. If the Jaguars possess the ball more and start winning time of possession, and I don't think they've won time of possession all year. If they possess the ball more and start winning time of possession, that might create a situation where Ryan Nielsen is a little bit less inclined to jump out of the window and thinking that he has to rotate guys so much. Get guys off the field. I love to see the Jaguars defense start out with a 3 and out. Get those dudes off the field. Don't. It seems like it takes them a while to get going, right? They want to see how you're going to play them, and they're going to see what you go. Okay, this is what they got. We took that. It's almost like I use boxing analogies a lot because it's almost like when you ever watch Floyd Mayweather fight in the first 2 rounds, he just collects data and he allows the other guy to get up and win those 2 rounds because he knows he has time to come back. Well, football works a little differently. Sometimes you need that momentum right away. You don't need to be running guys in and out of the game so much. And I thought I saw the coach yesterday say, okay, y'all want to be doing all that substituting. Here's what we'll do. We'll go tempo. And we won't allow you to. Or even when we go tempo and you start substituting people, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have to hurry up. There were a couple of plays where they were snapping the ball and the Jags were almost not even lined up. So I think it's going to be interesting moving forward to see how they move. But this could absolutely jumpstart the Jaguar season and just get them to the point where they can be healthy in the secondary. And once they do that, hey, the sky might be the limit on where this team could go. I know I'm pitching a little bit of a different tune because I saw something different the other day. I saw something different yesterday, and hopefully you did too. All right, man, make sure you check us out here on Locked On NFL. The team will, I think they depart Wednesday or Thursday or Wednesday, and then they'll practice overseas. I'm not going. So, yeah, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to London. But we will have there's a lot of people on the ground that I follow every single day. So I'll make sure that we get all the information. And we'll also we still will be privy to the PR sending us all of the transcripts and even maybe even some Zoom stuff so we can get in on those press conferences. All right, until then, you guys make sure you take care and keep enjoying this victory until the Jaguars play again, 37-34, and let's hope that this is a start of some momentum. Until next time, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars.